and we're going to merge both chapter 7 and 8 because they both talk about the same thing, about modal verbs. Okay, and you know, modal verbs have many uses, but in these two chapters we only focus on possibility. Well, at the very end, we will see a little bit of others, but mostly about that. Here are the modal verbs that we're going to use: may, might, could, should, can, must, will, ought to, have to, and should. Let's start with present possibility. The ones that we're going to use are may, might, could, should, and must. They are the ones that express present possibility. And it is as simple as organizing it by certainty. How certain you are about that possibility. If this is very possible or not so possible. They are now here organized. For example, if you say, that can't be true, that's impossible, I'm sure that it's not possible. Okay. Or with must, he must be upstairs. I looked everywhere else, so my conclusion, my certain conclusion is that he must be upstairs. Or I am sure that you must be kidding. You must be kidding. That can't be true, that you must be kidding. That's my conclusion, certain conclusion. Or he should be upstairs. I saw him walking up a few minutes ago. Be careful with this one, because when we use it as a possibility, it must be something like this. When you see something in the present, then your conclusion about what's going on is with should. Okay. Let's have a look at ought to. Remember, you cannot use ought to in negative. Okay. And have a look at this example. He ought to be in bed. Be careful, because it depends on the context. If it has a meaning of possibility, like he should be upstairs, or he ought to be upstairs because this and this and this. But with another context, for example, he ought to be in bed because he's very sick. That is an advice. So it just depends on the context. That's it. So it can have both meanings. Depending on the context. He ought to be in bed because he's very sick. That's my advice. Or he ought to be in bed because I saw him going upstairs. And here we have, as you can see, less possible scenarios. For example, he may be upstairs, I'm not so sure, or he could be upstairs, I'm not sure, or he might be outside, I don't really know. Let's continue with future possibility. The only thing that changes, as you can see here, is that we add will. Okay, and it's exactly the same as in the present. We can organize it by certainty. Okay, if you are very certain, if you're very sure, or if you're not so sure. But we don't change the grammar, nothing changes, just the context, just what you write afterwards. You'll see with examples. The plane will arrive soon, I am sure. Or the plane should arrive soon. And again, as you can see, it is like in the present, but all we add is a future expression. That's it. there is nothing you have to do. The same thing with ought to. She ought to be in bed. Okay, be careful because it has two meanings. That's my opinion is that she ought to be in bed because look at her, she's very sick. Or it can also be a future possibility. The plane may arrive soon. The plane could arrive soon, and the plane might arrive soon. It's less and less and less possible. What is the difference with the present? None. No difference. Just that we're talking about the future. Okay? But just have a look. Must. The only detail is that we cannot use must as these. For example, we cannot say the plane must arrive soon. No, in the future we need to say the plane must be arriving soon in the continuous form. That's it. Let's talk about the past possibility. As you can see, it's the same thing. All we have to add is have. Okay? And again, the same thing. Let's organize it by certainty. Okay? Can't have, couldn't have, must have, must not have. That's very certain. Have to have or have got to have. These two are very similar in certainty. And then medium, may have or may not have. Okay. And finally, you're not really very sure. Might have or might not have or could have. Let's see that with examples. For example, he can't have been upstairs. He left home. So I'm sure that it's impossible that he's upstairs because, he left home. Or he couldn't have won the lottery and he didn't even buy the ticket. I'm sure that is impossible. Or he must have been in bed when you went. He always gets up late. That is my conclusion. Okay, that is why I'm so sure that happened in the past, because I know that he always gets up very late. Then not so sure, he may not have been awake when you went. It was time to get up. So it was time to get up, so 50-50, right? I'm not so sure. And finally, he might have been in bed. Who knows? Okay? Just be careful because I am emphasizing have, but in real conversation, you don't really listen too much to that have. Okay? Things like couldn't have, must have. This is the simplest. He must have been. Must have been. You don't say he must have been. In regular conversation, you say must have. And as I said at the beginning, we have other uses for the past, not only possibility. Let's see this briefly. We can express ability. You could have studied more, but you didn't. Okay, you had the ability in the past, but you didn't use that ability in the past. Or advice. Advice for the past. You should have asked for help. Okay, that is my the advice I would have given you. Or the negative, he shouldn't have taken the money. That's illegal or something. Regret. You see it with the same should. No change. It's just the context, but you're expressing regret. I should have accepted the job. Or I shouldn't have lost my temper. So I regret it. I am not feeling very proud about that. And permission. For example, if you in the present have permission or obligation, you must register. Okay. Permission. I should have written here permission or obligation. So in the past, you don't use must have. You don't say you must have registered. No, you say you were required to register or you were supposed to register. Okay, we just prefer to use other expressions because then must have refers to possibility. And that's all, folks. Thank you very much. Have a nice one.